Happy Friday evening, Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Tennessee takes game one of the weekend series against LSU 6-3. It was a game that kind of felt they had in hand, and it got a little interesting at the end. But, all that matters is they start the weekend off 1-0 for the series, and knock my microphone over here. That's all that matters. It's been a couple weeks since they've actually won the Friday night game. So, a collaborative effort from the pitching staff, a weird night from the offense, some weird scoring tonight. But you know what? A win is a win. LSU come in 3-9, conference 3-10. I still say they're a better team than their record indicates. But, hats off to Tennessee for coming out tonight. As Tony Vitello did switch it up tonight. And instead of going A.J. Causey, he went with Chris Stamos out the gate, or Stamos. I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways on here, but Stamos went 2 2/3, 1 earned run, 2 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Did a pretty good job, and the sucky thing about it for him was he had good pitches. He did good things, and I think Dylan Dreiling lost one of the lights tonight, and that run ended up coming around to score on Tommy White base hit later on in the game. But, Billy Amick back in the lineup tonight, right out of the gates, first pitch he sees, bomb. So, good night for him as well. But Tennessee their pitchers combined for 13 strikeouts tonight. And this is a good LSU lineup as well. Stamos, 3 strikeouts. A.J. Causey, man. Let's talk about A.J. Causey a little bit here. He's had a couple rough weekends in a row. He come out and got on it tonight. Come in, got him out of a jam. He did give up the base hit to White that got a run in, but then he was really good tonight. And good for him. Come in, he threw 95 pitches, 4 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He was locating tonight, and that's the key with him is his location, his changeup. I kind of think he throws that 2-seamer, and I don't really hear him say what it is, but based on that break, of course, I know his arm angle matters on that as well, but he was locating tonight, and that made a big difference there as well. But, thank you guys for tuning in with me. Get this thing out of the gates. Got 10 of us in here now. We'll see where this goes. I just wanted to test out the baseball tonight. If it doesn't pick up, that's all right. I'll go here probably 15, 20 more minutes and wrap it up. If we get a big following in here, we'll go longer. Get the comments going, can go longer there as well. If not, y'all can treat this just like a regular video, just like I normally would. And, we'll go from there. But it's worth checking out. And, any of you guys listening right now, appreciate you checking out the channel. This thing keeps growing. The basketball stuff has really helped grow this channel a lot. So thank you for supporting that. Along the ways, there's been a lot of just with the way the team finished the season with their deep run in the NCAA tournament. Now all this portal madness going on. And, it's probably not going to slow down, but baseball coverage is going to amp up. I'm really heavily debating tomorrow, and it's not normally going to be my game, but I'm heavily debating after the orange and white game going live and just kind of recapping it. In the fall, it won't be my game. As of right now, later on, maybe, I don't know. I like to have that autonomy to where if I want to go watch a game, if I want to go to a game or something, I can. I don't have to be live afterwards. But, back to the Tennessee hand tonight, you had, like I said, Causey, 95 pitch. Kirby Cannell come in. Kirby was a little rough tonight. 1 2/3, 2 runs, 2 earned, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts. They gave a hit in the last inning to Amick on that little bouncer from Tommy White. I don't know. It may have been tough to give him an error on that, but I don't know. I still think Cannell's been hit and miss. Like, I see people saying, "No, I would trust him." He'll come in one time and be really good, and the next time he's been kind of rough here recently. I like Kirby Cannell. He's a good pitcher. He brings good things, but I don't know. I think he is a little inconsistent, but he kind of goes hand in hand with that Tennessee staff. But, you know, good for him. He got out of it, and it could have been a little chaotic tonight for sure, because you were right in the heart of the LSU order, and for once tonight, and I noticed, and any of you guys watching as well that watched the game, I noticed the shift actually paid off tonight. Not necessarily a full blown shift, but with them playing up the middle, it paid off a couple of times on balls that might have been hits, but Christian Moore was in the right spot. And that ball at the end, that was a well played, that was a good hit. I don't know, a good hit ball. That's probably not the right. Moore's right in the place. He's able to throw it out and end the game here. So let's see. Got Kyle Beach that, hey, just talk about football when you have time. You don't have to do it all the time. I watch all sports, so I love it all. Appreciate you. Kyle is always in here. So thank you, Kyle. Thanks for all your support on here. Definitely want to get into football talk. Make no mistake about it. I'd be crazy not to do a Tennessee channel and do it. But by the time when I started, I did a little bit with Citrus Bowl, but then basketball. And the basketball response has been great on here. It's far surpassed what I expected. And, a lot of my subscriber count that I built on this channel has been because of basketball right now. It's cool to see the people who are in here for all sports. And, I know not everybody likes basketball, football, but most people like football. Not everybody's on basketball and baseball. It's pretty cool to see that and talk sports amongst it. I got friends that they don't really care about basketball, but we'll talk baseball and stuff. That's pretty cool, to have that stuff as well. But Sam Hargrove says, looks like they're looking for Saturday's game to be face-off of aces. Yeah, I looked at that last night. I was kind of surprised by it. So you got Drew Beam, Luke Holman tomorrow. So that is basically your two staff aces that are going at it tomorrow. Should be a pretty fascinating battle. I'm curious to see how Tennessee does against Holman, because I think you could make a case that he may be the that he may be the best pitcher Tennessee has faced all year long. I think there is a case to be made for that one. Kyle Beach says, hit the like button. Yeah, absolutely. If you're in here, make sure you hit that like button. Share us out if you've got anybody that's a Tennessee fan or just a sports fan. Have them check that out as well. And, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It is free. Doesn't cost anything. I'm not on here begging for money or any of that stuff. Would I like to make money off of? Sure, absolutely. I'm not there, though. So but I don't know that I'll ever be a beggar either. To each their own. But Peds Revenge. This is JD Cable. I'm here to make sure you got the fire in your eyes. Good Lord, that's been a minute since that one. God. Thank God I still had a knee in one piece that night there, Peds. Basketball is always my favorite sport. It's the only sport that I can play. Well, cool. That's let's see, critical game for Tennessee to get a sweep. It had been, let's say, last weekend they lost the opener to Auburn. The weekend before they lost the opener to Georgia. See, I think they won the Friday night game against Ole Miss right before that. And then they'd won the Friday night game against Alabama as well. So for Friday night games, they're 3-2 right now. And they have won they lost the Alabama series, beat Ole Miss, beat Georgia, beat Auburn. You get that win tomorrow, especially if you get it over Luke Holman, you win the series. That's going to be pretty big for this team. And, it's in a brutal conference. So I still say LSU was better than their record indicates. They played a brutal schedule up to this point. But at the same time, they don't have Paul Skeens this year. They don't have the pitching staff that they had last year. They don't have the offense that they had last year, even though they still have some really good players on this team. You have Tommy White back. One of the cool last year, so when I was living in Columbia, South Carolina, LSU came to town, and I went up on Friday. We happened to be off on that Friday, and I went up for the early game on that one, and it was pretty cool to say. It was a funny thing because it was one of those games I didn't really care either way. I don't like either team, so it was just kind of fun to watch. But South Carolina was down to their final strike, bases loaded, final strike. Fans, they thought they had it in the bag, and I don't think it was Dylan Cruz. Maybe it was. I can't remember who. I don't think it was Cruz, but all of a sudden, grand slam, and that place just went quiet. It's just pretty interesting to watch. It's pretty cool to go as just having no affiliation. I did that with football this year. Me and a buddy of mine went down to Clemson. We watched Clemson, Florida State play. I mean, we pulled for Clemson, but we really had no affiliation, didn't care. It's kind of nice to not have that emotional attachment, because when Florida State won overtime, I think there was people throwing stuff, and not really throwing stuff toward the field, just slamming stuff. And it was like, yeah, that would have been Tennessee, I'd have been pretty hot then as well. So it was kind of nice to take in and be kind of innocent bystander in it along the way. Georgia lost 6-5 tonight to Missouri. Georgia is they're an erratic team. They have a great offense, but their pitching is so hit and miss. Bob Franklin, basketball, football, baseball, check it all out. Yeah, Bob, thanks for checking out the channel, man. You're always consistent in comments. Appreciate that. I think LSU just lost their top-notch pitchers. That's why they're struggling right now. Yeah, you had Skeens. I can't remember who their other pitchers were. I mean, I talked about last night on the preview on here, and I've alluded to it before with Luke Holman. Tony Vitello talked about in the preseason how they were how they had a guy who told them basically he thought all summer this guy's coming to the guy's dad had indicated, and they end up going elsewhere. I'm right at about 99% sure that was Luke Holman, because when he first hit the portal out of Alabama, it was said that, well, he would probably go to LSU. He came to Knoxville and visited. There was a connection with Holman and Drew Beam, funny enough, going against each other tomorrow. And I think Tennessee thought they had him. It'd have been nice to have Luke Holman on that staff. It'd have been nice to still have Chase Burns on that staff, too. You imagine if you had those three, it would be pretty fascinating. But it is what it is. Clemson did get beat tonight. Clemson, man, I think it was like 11-8 that they got beat. There was never a dull moment with Clemson baseball. I got to get down and catch a Clemson game. I don't live that far from Clemson, actually. And couple of guys where I coached last year, there's a couple of guys from there actually playing for Clemson right now. I didn't coach them. I was around last year when one of them come over and took BP and stuff. But, I would like to get down and see Clemson play. Got a heck of a program. But they've had a rough week. They got beat middle of the week by USC upstate, South Carolina upstate, and then they just lost tonight to NC State as well. So it's you never know college baseball. Of course, NC State, they have Cozart, I think's his name, the catcher. That was the reason Cannon Peebles transferred to Tennessee. Not working out too well at this point, but if Cal Stark keeps having nights like tonight, Peebles could work his way in possibly. Cal didn't have his best night to play. Cal Stark had a Cal Stark night to play. The normal Cal Stark happened tonight, as he'd been hitting really well here recently, but tonight, not so much. Get back into the statistics here with them as well. And, again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Got 23 of you here right now. Arkansas is number one right now. Actually, Arkansas 1, Clemson 2. Depending on what comes. I think Clemson's got to drop. They lost to USC upstate middle of the week, NC State tonight, even if Clemson finishes the weekend. But I don't know. A lot of these pollsters, they don't hold just a loss against. We've seen it with Tennessee. Tennessee's lost, 2 Fridays in a row and come back and win the series, and they boosted up each time. So that's not. I don't know how Florida has lost, I don't know how many midweek games, and they're still like top 10 in the country. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know how with college baseball how these guys that vote on the polls. Of course, you have so many of them. I don't know how they really see them. It just doesn't seem that a loss here and there hurts teams. Um, I mean, with LSU being where they're at now, 3-10 conference, that one adds up where they drop them out of it. But I guess you get a loss maybe midweek, but then you come back on the weekend and win a weekend series. I guess that kind of trumps the midweek, so to speak, right there. But looking at Tennessee stats, I talked about the pitching tonight. Stamos, again, to recap that, 2 2/3. Thought he did a respectable job coming out. He basically played that role of an opener tonight. 2 2/3, 2 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Pretty unfortunate again. He gave up a run because it was I guess Dreiling lost the ball in the lights. AJ Causey come in. He did one of his inherited runners. He gave up the hit Tommy White up the middle. But then after that, man, 5 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, 95 pitches. He bounced back nice night. Good to see him after the last couple weeks have the outing that he had tonight as well. Let's see, Sam Hargroves, here. What about Billy Barrels? First pitch back from surgery. Bomb. That's pretty cool. That got Tennessee out of the gates, and Tennessee never looked back after that night. That was nice to see. Good to have him back in the lineup as well. I mean, you always want, a player, your silver spikes. You always want that candidate in the lineup. So good to have him back in it as well. And the good thing about it is, as much as it's nice to have Amick in the lineup, I don't know that he was. I don't say this lightly. I will say this: guys who took his place did their job. Curley stepped his game up when he moved over to third. Of course, Antigua went to short. Antigua is not doing it with the bat yet, but I think this guy can hit. Tony Vitello talked about that earlier in the week when they asked about it, because he had a double, bases clearing double earlier in the week where he got 3 RBIs. And Vitello talked about going back to his first at bat when he was, I guess, kind of activated. And had it not been for the win that night, Antigua's first at bat would have been a bomb, but it blew it a pretty good ways foul on it. But, Curley did a good job. Dalton Bargo, when he got his chance in fielding, was just big on those weekends where Amick was out. So hats off to those guys that have stepped up. Hunter Ensley has stepped up. Reese Chapman has stepped up. Unfortunately, you go the opposite way and you see Robin Villeneuve. We're starting to see a little bit kind of what we saw last year out of Blake Burke, where he got into conference play. The teams have just figured him out. I mean, the guy can hit, but I don't know that he's a patient hitter. And, of course, he pinch hit tonight and struck out again. And, a buddy of mine and I, and he's in the chat here, we were texting about it earlier, hopefully, and he said it, and I've thought the same thing as well, if Villeneuve's back next year, hopefully you see kind of the progression you've seen out of Blake Burke. You think back to Blake Burke last year, he tore it up in non-conference. They got to conference play, and he had a tough time with it. But, of course, Blake Burke had 2 of the biggest at-bats of the year in the NCAA tournament against Clemson. He had the base hit against Caden Grice, which prolonged that game and allowed Zane Denton to have his heroics. And then you look at against Southern Miss, Tennessee down 1-0 in that series. Things were not going good on that Sunday. All of a sudden, Blake Burke crushes one. And the whole thing turned around for Tennessee the rest of the weekend. I think it really fired them up. So he had arguably 2 of the most vital at-bats of the season last year. You look at where Blake Burke started the first weekend down in Arlington this year. He looked a little rough. He had some moments. But then Blake Burke, I would argue, is Tennessee's best hitter. The adjustments, how much better a hitter tonight? Again, I talked about, I was texting tonight with a friend of mine, and he had a pretty good line. Said Burke had the at-bat, I think, where the ball maybe hit the bag or something, allowed him to move up. That was a long at-bat. he would have went through 3 or 4 bats last year and not seen that many pitches. So, I mean, hats off for him for how much he's improved, how much he's worked hard. Tony Vitello's always talked about how much he has worked hard there as well. So, putting it all back together, where I started with my thought on that is hopefully Villeneuve, if he's still there next year, if he doesn't get drafted, you never know at this point in time whether he makes those adjustments and we see him similar to what Burke is doing this year. Let me catch up a little bit on the chat here. I try to hit all of them. Got 31 of you in here right now. Pretty cool. Pretty good for baseball. So hopefully it's continue to pick up. I have seen Arkansas Arkansas beat Alabama at Alabama tonight. Arkansas looks like the best. Arkansas's pitching is their big thing. When I was doing the stats, looking at Tennessee's numbers last week, the one thing that was standing out to me as far as pitching was Arkansas. That Arkansas logo was up there at the top. So they're riding that pitching, and I'm sure offense is pretty good as well. I didn't have to. The funny thing about them, just look at Tennessee stats, so I didn't have to go too far on everything because Tennessee's logo is up pretty high on about all of your stats in the country. Now, if you start getting into stolen bases and walks and all that stuff, they're going to be lower. But as far as actual hitting, they're up the top in most categories. I have seen this comparison right here. It feels like LSU's Tennessee from last year started season high, but hasn't quite put it together. Plenty of baseball turnaround. I've seen that comparison numerous times now, and that could be. I mean, you think about it. If LSU figures out their pitching, they have Holman. Who's going to join him? If they get that pitching figured out, yeah, absolutely. So that was Tennessee's problem last year. Their starting pitching was honestly never that great last year. Dolander never was what he was. Andrew Lindsey was pretty good at the end of the year. I thought in the tournament, I didn't think he was that great. Beam was up and down at the end of the year and into the tournament. Beam was solid. He was Tennessee's best pitcher from the rotation at the end of the year. And then, of course, not to keep talking about him, but Burns. I mean, Burns come in and bailed some guys out in those tournaments with the outings that he had. But if LSU figures that out, yeah, they absolutely could be Tennessee from last year. They don't have the offense they had. They don't have the pitching they had, but there's still a lot of talent in Baton Rouge. Make no mistake about it. Let's see. Kyle Beach said the same. Yeah, I agree. Don't turn it. Yeah, they can wait till after this weekend to turn it around. Reese Winter, this is a good question. What do you think the ceiling for this team is in the playoffs? Can we get to Omaha with this team? Funny thing about it, man, I think this team is flawed. Offensively, they're not, but I wonder what happens if they face an Arkansas with that type of pitching. I'm kind of curious to see how this offense does going against that. But, as much as we talk about Tennessee's pitching, they need to fix it. Overall, in the nation, they're ranking about 15th in the country overall. So that says one of two things. Either their pitching's better than we're giving them credit for, or the rest of the country is really down in pitching right now. I don't know which one it says, to be honest with you, because I've just not been that real impressed with this pitching staff this year. They've had their moments. There's things I've seen that I've liked. There's things I've seen I haven't. But, I guess overall the good has outweighed the bad. And the good most certainly outweighed the bad tonight. Again, Stamos, I thought good out of the gate. Causey did his job. Cannell a little bit up and down, but Cannell got it done when Cannell needed to get it done. Back to the ceiling. Omaha. I don't know that this my fear with Omaha, it's such a big stadium. I've said this, and I question whether a Tennessee team with Vitale can win the College World Series just because I think you have to play a brand of small ball in Omaha to get it done. Such a big stadium. It plays big. You don't see the home runs, especially like you're going to see in Lindsey Nelson Stadium. You've got to be able to steal some bases. I mean, this team never bunts. Of course, bunting is becoming a lost art, but there are teams that will execute bunting. There are teams that some of the teams Tennessee has seen, they steal a lot of bases on it. And, where do they go? in that regard. You're going to have your good pitching. I felt like each time Tennessee has gotten to Omaha, their pitching's not been hitting on all cylinders. When they made it just a few years ago, Chad Dallas against Virginia, he didn't have his best stuff. And then game 2 against Texas, Blake Tidwell was out quick. And then they brought Sean Hunley in, who was the closer. He was in like the third or fourth inning. And last year got to Omaha. I would like to see him switched it up, but it worked out. I mean, Lindsey didn't have his best stuff first game. Of course, that LSU team, I mean, they won the College World Series. They were a great team last year. There's no shame in that. Dolander went against Stanford, and Chase Burns come in and bailed him out. He bailed Dolander out multiple times last year. The one time I actually saw him up in Columbia, Dolander pitched great. Burns come in and got smoked by South Carolina. They lit him up bad. And the last game, on the last day of the regular season, they played a doubleheader that day. And then Beam, who had been struggling, pitched that second game against South Carolina, pitched great, and he never looked back. He was good the rest of the way. He pitched good against LSU in game 3 of the College World Series last year. He pitched good enough to win. Unfortunately, LSU's bullpen was better and shut Tennessee's offense down, which Tennessee's offense was an average offense last year. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad either. Let's see. Y'all think Cal's calling the Hogs out Arkansas? God, what a crazy week in basketball around Kentucky and Arkansas with Calipari to Arkansas and then Mark Pope. I honestly did not even realize Mark Pope was a coach. I remember him playing for Kentucky. He was a good center when he was there, or he was decent. But I just don't follow a lot of basketball outside of Tennessee. Now, if it impacts Tennessee, yes. But Mark Pope, where he's been, has not impacted. Until I saw he was getting the job, I honestly did not even know he was a coach. So, maybe that's on me for not following it better, but we'll see. Arkansas has one punter on the roster. He has to do a lot of work to get his team together. Tomorrow night's going to be in. Get you some tomorrow night, LSU. That's going to be an interesting game tomorrow with Beam versus Holman. That's a big boy pitching matchup tomorrow night. I'm excited for Tennessee to face a guy like Holman and see how they do. Who knows? He may come in and shut him down. They may run him early. I don't know. I like their approach, the way they've been hitting, though. Especially in Lindsey Nelson Stadium, I like their chances to be able to get him. But I'm curious to see what version of Drew Beam shows up tomorrow night as well. He was good last weekend, the weekend before in Knoxville. He was out early. He did not pitch well against Georgia. Kirby Cannell, bullpen come in, bailed him out, and that offense took off after that. Enabled them to then come out on Sunday with Seacrest and Nate Snead and get that win. Let's see. And, this is a baseball post game, but I'll tell you guys, we can mix in some Portal Talk basketball. We can talk some basketball. We can talk some orange and white game tomorrow. It's an open forum tonight on here. We'll go with whatever you guys want to talk about. Thank you for tuning in. Got 36 of you in here now. Anybody wants to talk UT sports, tell them to come on in right now. It doesn't have to be just baseball. We can go basketball. We can go football. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll roll with it tonight. You want to talk about WrestleMania from the weekend? We'll talk WrestleMania. You want to talk Lady Vols hire? We'll go that. Whatever route you all want to go, we'll go with it tonight. I think Tennessee's only going to keep getting better throughout the rest of the year. I think so too, and I just think they're pitching. Tony Vitello and Frank Anderson, they're working. They're working hard to get this pitching figured out. So one of the things, and I still think a couple of those freshmen, Loy and Dallas, are going to be key to it. And they asked earlier in the week about what's it going to take for those guys to get to the weekend. He said it. I've touched upon it here before. You look at a lot of their outings, it's walks. You have to be able to throw strikes. I thought Loy's had pretty good control. Actually, Dallas is the one I feel has battled control problems. And then tonight against Alabama A&M, his inning he pitched, he gave up a couple runs. So, he didn't do himself any favors then, but, sometimes as well, and Tony Vitello's talked about it, where we may see how it looks on a box score or something. They may see something totally different in terms of how the pitcher's throwing, that he's throwing better than the box score indicates, or maybe he gets out of an inning unscathed, no runs, but they're not really throwing well on it. And it totally makes sense on that. You can tell sometimes whether a guy has it or not. And sometimes they get those results, sometimes they don't. And baseball can, as a lot of that watch it, it can be an unfair game sometimes for sure. Greg said Causey battled. I was happy to see Causey bounce back the way that he did tonight, because he's had a couple rough weekends, but he was big tonight. And Stamos did his job out of the gate, and then for Causey to bounce back, that was big for Tennessee. And then they manufactured runs tonight in numerous ways. This is probably about as small ball without playing small ball as I've seen out of Tennessee, because they didn't necessarily play the small ball, but things just worked out tonight. It was almost like they did go that route a little bit. I saw that Mark Pope video. I did not have the sound on for it, though. I was just kind of watching. I think I was recording or trying to upload something, and I saw it, was just watching it, and all of a sudden I seen him rip his shirt off or whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, that's I don't know. That's something like Butch Jones would do. Butch Jones-esque right there. Vandy hit Holman a little last week. Can be done. I want to go back to that one. Actually, that's a good point. I want to see. I'd had LSU stats, their schedule up. So kind of want to see where. Because I think Vandy took, 2 out of 3 last weekend. Vandy got smoked tonight. 15-0 and 7 by Texas A&M. Got smoked tonight. Love to see it. 8-6. Let's see if I can get LSU's website. Oh, here we go. Box score. Let's see. Holman did not throw Saturday. He threw Friday. So they switched it up this weekend. I think maybe I might have known that, but they did switch it up this weekend and went with Gage Jump tonight. And they went, they did go Holman Friday night. He went 5 2/3, 4 hits, 6 runs, 4 earned. He did have 10 strikeouts. So Vandy got a little bit off of him, but 10 strikeouts, and good God, you got to think he'll feast on Tennessee tomorrow night. Looking at Tennessee's hitting night, they had, I think I counted earlier, they had 13 strikeouts as well. Let's see, 3-5. No, they had 11 tonight. They had 11 strikeouts, so not quite what LSU did, but Burke won, Amick won, and a couple of them, the guys had some beefs with it. 2 Tears had a strikeout, Drawling 2, Bargo, Villeneuve, Inslee, and Cal Stark 0 for 3 strikeouts. Not a good night for him, but looking at the lineup, Christian Moore 2 for 2. He had 2 walks. He did have a caught stealing, but he scored 2 runs. Blake Burke 2 for 4. Billy Amick 1 for 3. 2 RBIs, 2 runs, a home run, a walk. Kavaris Tears 0 for 2. He had 2 walks again. Drawling 1 for 3, 2 RBIs. He had a home run and a walk. Tonight he drew a bases loaded walk. That was an inning. I thought Tennessee had a chance to bust that thing open. And then Curley hit that shallow fly ball, and they threw Burke out the plate. I honestly thought Burke was safe, but man, he looked like he was moving slow on that. I thought he was a little faster than that. Maybe it was just the play transpired so quick that that they just made it happen fast on it. Golly, that insane. Let's see here. Sanders Rux, do you think we'll get players from portal for the men's basketball? So I released a video earlier tonight on that. So Tennessee has Darlene Stone Dubar from Hofstra. They have Cade Tyson from Belmont. I'd seen some people come in on comments when I talked about him saying they thought it was done. I listened to Ben McKee a little bit. I found when I was getting ready to upload some stuff on YouTube today, 99.1 to Sports Animal Knoxville. It was Swain, and I can't remember who the other guy is that's on with Swain. They had McKee on, so I checked it out a little bit to see what he had to say. And he says he feels Dubar from Hofstra that Tennessee has they're really good shape with him. That's kind of, I've figured out the cue for he thinks they're probably going to get him. And Dubar does not have any other visits set up. So I think Tennessee's going to have a good shot to come out of the weekend with him. Now, Cade Tyson, on the other hand, any guys that follow kind of the baseball recruiting last year when they got to the offseason when Billy Amick went in the portal out of Clemson, Kendall Rogers, D1 baseball, who does good stuff. He's like, I think Amick's going to Florida. Tennessee got him on campus first. Tennessee blew him away. He went to Florida. He went to South Carolina on visits. Can't remember if he went anywhere else or not. Blowing him away that first weekend got it done. And Amick was from Lexington, South Carolina. So South Carolina was basically home for him, not that far from Lexington where he was at. I don't know what the connection was to Florida, but anyway, with Cade Tyson, he's from North Carolina. He went to Belmont. North Carolina, from what I've heard, McKee talked about it too, they're desperate for shooters. Tyson may be the best shooter in the portal. So they're going to go hard after him. It's going to be hard to get him from North Carolina. But if you look at that Billy Amick situation last year where they blew him away, Tennessee's bringing in Dubar. They're bringing in Cade Tyson this weekend. You've got, of course, this big series with LSU where they're pulling out all the stops. So Kim Caldwell, first pitch tonight. Todd Helton, first pitch tomorrow. Dalton Connect, first pitch Sunday. Orange and white game tomorrow. I don't know that there's a better weekend that if you're Rick Barnes and company, you could bring guys in than this weekend with so much going on campus to really showcase everything that's going on, all the highs in this Tennessee athletic program right now, just the buzz in so many sports. And, I know there's mix on the new Lady Vols coach. I love what they did, went outside of the family. Sometimes you have to do that. And, you always want somebody in the family to succeed, but also sometimes, some of the worst things is when your family doesn't succeed, and like they've had to do with Holly and now Kelly and let them go. It sucks. It stinks. Cannot imagine what they've had to do. But Danny White is kind of an innovative guy. Danny White likes offense. I like what he did on it. We'll see how the results, we don't know any of it until the results come in. A lot of people weren't happy with Josh Heupel, and look where it is now. But, good question. I think they will definitely get Dubar. What happens with Tobey Awaka? Meeting with coaches today. Does he come back now? Possibly. I don't know. I hope so. But we'll see. And then there's still names out there. So that, Tyson and Dubar is the only two that I know for sure visiting. Man, if they could get those two, that is an awesome start to it. Let's see. I'm late. Did we win against LSU tonight? Yes, we did. 6-3. 6-3. Good game by Tennessee tonight, getting back into the baseball talk tonight. So get back to the offense. Amick come out, first pitch, home run, puts Tennessee up 2-0. And it was just kind of a grind from there. See, Tennessee scored on, I'm trying to think of some of the plays. There was almost double play with Amick. Kind of a wild throw. I think the play was going to be close for him beating it out. And then, I'm trying to think. Dylan Dowling, of course, hit a home run. Let me see where the rest of the RBI. So they only had 4 RBIs out of 6 runs tonight. Dowling had 2 of them. He drew a bases loaded walk. Amick, his 2 RBIs come on a home run. Another run scored on him with the fielder's choice. I'm trying to think how the other one scored. It was, I feel like it was something fluky. I'm forgetting it off the top of my head here. Some of you guys in here as I'm getting to the comments here. Crazy thing, he's only been to the tournament twice and never won. Let's see. Hope we can push the pitch count up early on Holman. Yeah, I hope so too. I hope they can push it up and get him out tomorrow. Oh, the new Kentucky coach only been in the tournament twice and never. I saw something about that. He's not winning conference tournaments, conference championships, any of that stuff. So, but he is a Kentucky alum. I kind of wonder if they didn't jump the gun on that one because there were other guys with the NBA season getting ready to end this weekend who could have been available there to come in. But hey, I hope it works out like, I didn't realize somebody told me Conzo Martin took the Missouri State job again because I started making jokes saying, hey, Conzo Martin needs a job. How about Kentucky? Let's see. I hope so. We dropped the opening game, the last two series. Still, yeah, absolutely. Talked about that earlier. Tennessee. This is the first Friday night win in 3 weeks. So they got they got smoked against Georgia and then Auburn 9-5 last week. So nice to bounce back tonight. I'm curious. Tomorrow's going to be a big game. That's going to be with LSU moving Holman back to Saturday to combat Beam. I don't know. I see where Vitello comes. I would still probably, if it were me, I don't know. I see what they're wanting to do. They're trying to get that Saturday advantage. LSU kind of countered them on that this weekend. But the only problem is Tennessee got that Friday night game. So even if LSU, it works out that them countering Beam with Holman tomorrow, you're still going in that rubber match Sunday where you had Seacrest and LSU was TBD to be determined at that point. So I would like to see Tennessee come out with a sweep this weekend. They've not had a sweep yet, unless I'm forgetting right now. I'm pretty sure they have not, but it'd be nice to come out this weekend with a sweep. Let's see, some of you. Old Buzz Peterson. So, man, I thought when Tennessee got Buzz Peterson, that was going to be a good hire. It's like, yeah, we got Buzz Peterson. He looks good. I think Buzz had a good eye for talent. Buzz just had a problem coaching it up was a problem because he left Bruce Pearl some talent. And, you look at some of that talent he inherited from Jerry Green and he added to it. Talent was not the problem during that time in Knoxville. It was definitely more coaching. Texas A&M is, what are they ranked, like third? So, they got a heck of a team down there. Tip Jackson, good to see you in here, man. No need to apologize. Glad you're in here. Orange and white game, Kyle, from what I've seen, is ESPN Plus, SEC Network Plus. I believe is what it is. Let me see if I can find you a definitive answer on that here. How to watch. Let's see if it's on UT Sports as well. Let's see, 24/7. I don't think I have anything yet as far as how to watch it. I'm pretty sure I definitely saw it was on like SEC Plus tomorrow. And a lot of times to utilize like from your computer, you may be able to find that on it. Harder to find on the TV than it is the computer. Let's see. I'm trying to pull it up on utsports.com. Let's see what they got going about orange and white game. To our April 13th, 1 o'clock. Watch live. Let's see what it says here on that. It says SEC Network Plus tomorrow. Oh, it's trying to go ahead and tell me the event's not started. I guess I clicked on it to watch it. So maybe tomorrow it'll work out. But, yeah, that brings me to the point now. I absolutely hate ESPN Plus. I don't have it in any subscriptions. I had to start a free trial Fubo tonight so I could get a free week and get ESPNU to watch the game tonight. I thought ESPNU was actually going away, but apparently not. So orange and white game, 1 o'clock, SEC Network Plus. Let's see. Kyle can see that. Probably be a Will Levis fan too. God. Oh, Kirby. Tip. I love me some Kirby. Kirby come in, got the job done tonight. He was a little up and down, but he got it done in the end, and he got it done against LSU's order. That was a tough play for Amick from Tommy White. He makes that play, I think, based on how his momentum going. He's firing home. So you possibly get out with a 6-1 win on that one. But, I can't fault Amick. I can't fault Cannell. Sometimes that's just baseball. Sometimes that is the way the ball bounces at that point in time. What did I think about the plate? The plate, I thought Burke was safe on it, but I don't think it was. That's one of them they're probably not going to overturn on it. And I kind of went back and forth on that. Would I've sent him or not? I don't really hate the aggressiveness on it. I don't. There's some things I've not liked from the aggressive standpoint, but on that one, the way the guy was catching the ball, if he'd have been catching it full on in stride, I could have understood holding him. But the way the guy caught it, and you had the first baseman, I think it was, going out, so it had to be called off. The LSU guy just made a good throw, and I don't think it was a good tag because he tagged him up on his shoulder, but the umpire didn't overturn it. To me, every view I saw, Burt got his arm in there. But I don't know. You don't let him overturn a lot of stuff either, so it did not surprise me if they didn't overturn it. But again, I don't know. I tried to play devil's advocate both ways on that one. Would have not have sent him. Based on how the guy caught the ball, I didn't have a problem with it. Just because he was basically across his body, and he had to come back across his body to make three. He just made a good throw on it, and it is what it is. It sucked because it could have been a big inning on that one. Part of me wonders in that point too, do you take another pitch because the dude had just walked dryling with the bases loaded and got to run in? He threw a first pitch ball to Curley. But also, I mean, I had a debate on this in the past with, my philosophies on baseball, champ, worked with guys who they're all about that drawing the walk, getting those pitches. And then me, I kind of a little more gung ho. I like swinging a lot. I always used to that take a strike approach. And the older I got, no matter what it was, got to the point I hate taking a strike. Now, if it's 3-0, sure. The old 3-0, yeah, sure. Depending on who it is. Now, back, when I've had teams, if it was my main guys up, I told them to swing away if it's 3-0. Now, if we're down and need the runner, possibly not. But also at the same time, if I know it's my main guys up, I want my main guys swinging. If it's guys down at the bottom that I know are a bit less to get on, yeah, I probably want them to get on, and I probably want them taking those pitches. But if it's Christian Moore, Blake Burke, a Billy Amick, a Kavaris Tears, I could about name the lineup here. Tears, Dreiling, Curley. Yeah, I mean, Curley's been good. Curley's going to be a stud before he leaves Knoxville. To think of where he's at now, he is going to be an absolute stud before he leaves Knoxville. And, next year with him I'm pretty sure you're going to have him at third and Antigua at short. I think Antigua can hit. Those two guys are going to be something else down there. Luckily, found it on YouTube and watch. I started to look that up, actually. That was going to be my next round. I Google searched how to watch it, and it popped up Fubo, and I started researching it because I didn't want to start a subscription just for ESPN freaking you. And I found that you get a 7-day trial out, which I may go back and check it out later. Looks like there's pretty good channels on it. In your opinion, who is the best? Let's see, wrong. In your opinion, who's the best player on this Tennessee team? Oh, man, best hitter, I'm going Blake Burke this year. I'm going best overall player is Blake Burke. I feel like he has improved so much offensively and at first base this year. There was a play he made tonight where he fired one second. Guy's got an arm on him, too. So I wonder how much pitching he did in high school also. But I'm going to have to go Blake Burke as Tennessee's best player. And best all around. Amick is real good. Kavaris Tears, Dreiling, Christian Moore. I mean, and those five guys, man, that is five studs at the top of that lineup. And now I can tell you right now, too, in a couple years' time, Dean Curley, man, Dean Curley's going to be he's going to be up there when he leaves Knoxville in 2 more years. California kid coming up to California Love. Dude can play some ball. He can play some shortstop. I think Antigua's a better defensive shortstop than Curley. And I don't say it mildly. It's just because Antigua is phenomenal. Curley can play some short, but they hit the jackpot on getting those guys. In tomorrow's game, I think Tennessee's going to have to work to build up Holman's count. I think so too. I think you're going to have. I think there's guys you have to exemplify a little patience. But also with a guy like Holman, I think I take the philosophy of, if he's giving you one down the middle, you don't know how many of those you're going to see. You might want to take advantage of it when he presents it. I don't know. That's just kind of me. But also, if you're swinging early and he's getting you out quick, he's going to go 9 innings also. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. And me personally on it, I like aggression at the plate, especially if I'm facing a good pitcher. If it's there on 0-0, hack away. Because you may not see another straight pitch. If you see a straight pitch from Holman, you better swing at it because you may not see another one on that as well. Let's see. Got 32 in you. 32 of you in here, 52 minutes. I'm thinking pretty serious tomorrow. Leave a comment if you'd be interested. If not, so be it. But orange and white game at 1. I don't know who's I don't know that any's covering it post game tomorrow. I've said this before. Post game in the fall football is not going to be my game. On it, I do want to come up with something else for football tomorrow. Might be a good time. Just get on, have a little bit of fun, and talk about the game, what we see, what we're looking forward to in the fall. I don't know. It's I'm going to think about it overnight. Some of this is impromptu and stuff, but main thing I'll be keeping an eye on with Tennessee athletics is my eye is mainly on the portal and basketball right now. It's been pretty crazy this week. I don't know when it's going to die down. I think with Tennessee, especially with just 2 visitors this weekend and 6 open roster spots, I think there's going to be continued news for a few weeks. And I'm excited to see how they fill the roster out. And I feel like they have a real opportunity to really shift this roster. Some of your guys that were fringe players may not see in due time. You've got an opportunity now to go out and fill it up with all dudes who can contribute next year. I like it, honestly. But that also comes down to a lot of your guys you're recruiting are leaving. What's the deal? Is it is it misevaluation? Is it just this is the era we're in college sports where, I'm not going to play. I'm going to go somewhere where I will play. Or is it a case of, hey, you can pay me or I'll go somewhere else and get paid? And, I don't know how much I blame them. I've talked to people about it that actually played in college. Talked to a guy who walked on at a big school that's actually ACC now. We were talking here a few weeks ago. And we talked about NIL. And he said, I don't feel sorry for the guys. He said, I went. He said, yeah, I was lucky. I was able to walk on and play for that program. He said, but you know what? I was stuck with loans and stuff. I didn't get a scholarship. Said these guys are getting scholarships. They're not having to pay anything back where I am. He said, so, I'm not that fan of it. So you hear different perspectives of it. I mean, I know I went to college. I'm still paying for my loans some, whether it's the right decision or not. It is what it is. They're getting free education or getting so much paid for. Well, it goes numerous ways on it. I have different opinions on it, depending on it, but I don't like the college athletic. I love it, but I don't like where it's going with just guys up and leave whenever they feel like it. And if they knock out the unlimited or I think it's unlimited transfers now, maybe. Is a guy going to play a game one weekend and he's going to be on the opposing team's campus the next weekend? I don't know. I don't like where it's going. There's got to be some kind of regulation, but my thought is with it all is you're going to see a revolution. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And it's just what it's going to take. And I've debated making a video on this. It might be outlandish, is probably why I haven't at this point, but it's a pretty interesting thing is that I think, and Tennessee, who knows, could be a leader of it with the NCAA pulling their bullshit they have on them. But you see Tennessee, maybe a Florida State or some of them kind of get the ball rolling. You get an ESPN and or a Fox or somebody, you get one of these streaming services behind them with all this money. NCAA's done with. They are done. It's going to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when. I don't know how soon the when's going to be, but when it happens, I mean, it's basically going to be like semi-pro. And I'm curious to see how it is if guys have to go to college or if they can go straight to the pro or not. With basketball, I would like to I'd like to see it more like baseball. You either go to the NBA, you go to the G League or whatever, or you go to college for 3 years. Or I think it's now something with baseball because Tennessee's had some guys a couple years and due to their age, they can go. I think Dreiling is one of those this year. He's a sophomore, but due to his age, he can go to the MLB draft. It was the same with Blade Tidwell a couple years ago. But we'll see where it goes on it. Let's see. Biggest curiosity, what Kim can do with the Lady Vols. Be interesting to see. It will be very interesting to see what she does. And, I've not kept up with their roster. I know they lose some of their better players. They had some of their recruits decommit. I'm not sure who has not hit the portal, but I know she has made comments. I've seen some comments of hers in the past at Marshall, maybe others. She is a fan of the portal, and she's going to attack the portal. So I suspect they'll be on that. A thing with Tennessee and this NIL is what's Tennessee's war chest made up of? I don't think there's an answer to that. Is it a case of Spire doesn't have the funds? Is it a case of Spire has the funds, but they're being strategic with who they go after? I heard some pretty interesting stuff one time about it from somebody who got some information from them. And, I won't go into much detail on what I was told from the person, but it was that with football, it was about football and how there were specific positions that, and if you look at Tennessee, you can kind of put the pieces together. Where are they recruiting really well at right now? If you kind of think about the positions they're recruiting really well at, you could probably kind of piece that together. The philosophies. I mean, with basketball is probably a different story, but they also probably do not have the war chest that, say, football has, and certainly no baseball does. I mean, baseball doesn't even have full scholarships for the most part. So, be interesting to see. With unlimited transfers, why develop any freshmen? It's a very, very interesting point, and I just wonder what this is leading to for the high school ranks. Is it just going to become where the bigger schools poach talent from the smaller schools? Yeah, I think with football, you still have to mainly have a base of high school. Basketball, I mean, theoretically, I don't know that you have to. I don't know that it matters in basketball. You could probably theoretically build your team out of the portal and not even recruit the high school ranks. I don't know that you could totally do it. But I mean, who is it? Louisville? Their whole team hit the portal this year. So, I don't know, man. It's pretty wild. Ole Miss didn't seem to have Ole Miss, they've racked up. They must have an absolute nice set of money following them in football for sure. Tip said Tennessee athletics across the board is the best in Southeastern Conference. When can we get a natty? That's going to be the big question right now. Which program will be the first to get one? Everything seems to be rolling with Tennessee athletics right now. That's across the board. Your primary sports, even your ones that are, I guess, considered secondary, they're all rolling right now. That was one thing when Tennessee hired Danny White. I looked first into what's this guy's track record? What's his programs like? And the first thing that I saw that stood out to me at Central Florida was across the board in all sports. Ranked teams making runs on it. And I know that's Central Florida. I know that's not the Southeastern Conference, but, you have to perform no matter where you're at. That, to me, was a good thing that he wasn't just a football guy. Tennessee has had athletic directors who were just football guys or were just good at one sport, basically. I mean, supposedly, I think Dickey was more of a football guy. Some of his basketball hires left a little to be desired. You had Rod Delmonico in baseball, who was there for years, so that wasn't so much of a problem. You got Mike Hamilton, on the other hand. Basketball took off under him. Football went to crap. Baseball went to crap. Other sports went to crap. Dave Hart comes in. I don't know that much of anything went well under Dave Hart. I could be wrong on that. He about trashed the Lady Vols brand. Brought in Butch Jones, who was close. Basketball was who? Donnie Tyndall? Well, no, Dave Hart got Rick Barnes. So he does have that one. You had, John Curry, who's responsible for Tony Vitello. Who knows what who knows what else would happen under him. Philip Fulmer, responsible for Jeremy Pruitt and Kelly Harper. There's a reason Philip Fulmer's back watching at home again. But now you got Danny White putting his stamp on it. Josh Heupel, he inherited Rick Barnes. He inherited Tony Vitello. Had to make the tough call. Kelly Harper, which was unfortunate, but I think it had to be done. But I think I'd seen, too, where he gave her the opportunity to make changes to staff. But I just cannot imagine that. I think that's would be a hard thing working for your spouse. They come up and want you to get rid of your spouse. I just cannot imagine that. That's a tough one. And so tough call, brings in Kim Caldwell, up-and-comer, exciting brand of basketball, who's won everywhere they go. You got to like it. You got to like what they brought in there. If I had to pick a team that wins the first national championship out of them, I don't know, man. I would almost go baseball. I would almost go baseball with it, but just because I think Tony's getting close, but I think there's still a couple of adjustments he has to make to get over that hump. But right now, if I had to say who's the first one, I'm going to go with baseball. I think baseball's set up the best just because they've been the most consistent. I feel they've been more consistent than basketball. Even though Barnes has had some consistency going, he's had a lot of roster turnover. Baseball, not so much. They have a little bit. It's natural to have a little bit. Football, I think football's doing fine. The only problem for me is I don't see a Georgia going anywhere for a while. But, if you can get over that Georgia hump, sky's the limit with it for sure. But it's an exciting time to be a Tennessee fan. Everything is booming right now. I'm very excited about football in the fall. I'm excited to watch the orange and white game tomorrow. A lot of good things happening right now. And, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. But thank you guys for tuning in. We was up in the 30s tonight. And, this is a good one here. So I forget about softball. Which one made the hire, Ralph and Karen Weekly? Yeah, Karen is, that's how do I forget that? That's a solid, that could be the program that wins the first one, possibly UT softball. So I'm not sure how I forget that one, but yes, that was a great hire. Let me see when they were hired, actually. Let's see. (2002) is when they were hired. Ralph Weekly, along with Karen, co-head coach, 2002 until now. So that would have been, was that Mike Hamilton? Thinking, I'm trying to think when Dickey retired. Let's see. Dickey was through 2002, so Dickey actually could have been the one that hired them on there. So if that's the case, then, Dickey went out with a pretty solid hire, been there almost, 22 years now Pretty nice hire, absolutely. So I don't know if that would have been Dickey or Hamilton because I don't know if they overlapped during that time. But yeah, that could be the one that wins the national championship first. That's a heck of a program. CRB seems to be having a hard time convincing kids to play his style. I don't know, man. You look at Dalton Connect coming in. That worked out pretty well for them. So we'll see how it goes this off season. We'll see how it goes. And I don't necessarily think the attrition is a bad thing. I think I equate it to football this past year where basically all of your secondary, the veteran secondary, hit the portal and left. There's not a one of them that it bothered me that they left. I mean, McCullough graduated, and then Judy Lawley chose to go in pro, and he had another year option. If one of those two would have came back, that'd have been fine. But the fact that they're going to the NFL didn't bother me. Of course, Kamal Haddon was injured going to the NFL. Those were probably your three best defensive backs. The rest of those guys that wanted money and they ended up going to the portal, there's more talent in that secondary now than there was last year. And the puzzling thing to me is why they did not play more than they did last year. But, it is what it is. I'm going to wrap up on that one. Guys, again, thank you for tuning in tonight. This was fun. I'm going to debate it tomorrow. Just kind of be on the lookout if you're interested in chatting after the orange and white game. I may or may not. I'm going to sleep on it a little bit. But Tennessee baseball tonight, we got pretty off topic from it. But, how much can you really talk about in the grand scheme? We talked about the offense, pitching. Tennessee gets out of the gates of this series, wins the first game of the series. Tomorrow's going to be a big boy matchup. Drew Beam versus Luke Holman, battle of basically staff aces tomorrow. Sunday, Xander Sechrist for Tennessee. Do not know for LSU. It's listed to be determined. But, it'd be nice to see Tennessee baseball come out tomorrow and get that victory. Of course, transfer portal for Tennessee is hot and heavy. 2 big-time visitors on campus this weekend. I think we may get some news on one of them. It'd be awesome to get news on both of them, but I think we're going to have to sweat out Cade Tyson in North Carolina next week. But the hope is that he enjoys this weekend, they really blow him away with all the things going on. Of course, baseball, and then tomorrow, orange and white game. We get to see Nico on display. We get to see all these young guys. It should be a fun time to watch tomorrow. But, good night, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you as always, for support. Make sure you like, you share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button. It is free. It is free. But, as always, close it here last, but most certainly not least. Go Vols.